morning, world.
Good morning. Well, for those of you out there who are old enough to remember Schoolhouse Rock, those animated shorts that taught us math, science, and American history, CRT will not be outdone. Brian and I are going to review a quick video to show what CRT is really all about according to them. I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian, and this is Cedric and Brian.
All right, welcome back. We're going to flip things around a little bit today before we show you the video, and we're going to start with the comment. We thought this was important because it was a comment that was left on our CRT video. And for those of you who are YouTube content creators, it's funny when people don't think you actually read the comments, and then you respond back and like, oh, I didn't think you were actually going to respond. But I have one here from Know Thyself X, distant cousin to Malcolm, I'm assuming. Yeah. And this person says after our last CRT video, black dude, don't have an original thought in his head. Brian said this. Brian said that. Brian is the master of thought. And normally I let those things go, but I said, nah, you know what? I need to respond to this. And I said, very simply, trying to be polite, I said, just giving credit to who I agree with, regardless of color. I'll gladly explain myself to you if you point out the points of the video that you disagree with. And I put the C, which is for Cedric.
And was that our first CRT video they were responding to, or the second one, or?
That was the second. No, actually, you know what? I take that back. This was the Gwen Berry one.
Oh, Gwen Berry. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, because of that, since we are talking about critical race theory for Know Thyself X, I will keep quiet.
That's a damn shame, though. And that's another trick along with when people say to me, don't you feel that Black Lives Matter? Of course I do. It's stupid. And then they keep other people from saying things, saying, well, you're white. You can't speak on this. It's like, no, he's an American. We're dealing with America. I give you permission to speak as if you need it.
Well, thank you. Okay. But I will not speak.
I'll show you.
Just like we talked about the transgender issue. Neither one of us are transgender, I don't think. I mean, it's silly to say people can't talk about something just because they're not in. We're humans. We're talking about human issues. So let's get on with this.
Right.
But I will try to keep my comments to a minimum.
Today, August 3rd, after you guys get through watching Cedric and Brian, I want you to check out a friend's podcast of mine, Jamie Luce. If it's important to you, because what me and Brian share, we try and share American thought, American values for those who are conservative, those on the right. If you want to go a little bit deeper and you're looking for some hardcore biblical principles that are right in line with your life, check her out. If you don't believe in biblical principles, check her out anyway because she gives good advice. She's a mom, she's a wife, she's huge in her community. There's a picture of me and Jamie right there. We've known each other for 10 plus years and you know her as well. Mm-hmm. But author, blogger, podcaster, go on there, leave a comment and say, hey, Cedric and Brian sent us here, want to check you out, and give her a follow.
Yeah, if you want to see him on something other than Cedric and Brian.
Right, yes, and I think today's topic is me talking about where have all the men gone. So you might want to check that out.
All right, should we hit it with this structural discrimination, the unequal opportunity race?
Yes, so we're going to talk about this video here, and it was put out by a founder of CRT. Her name is Kimberly Crenshaw. And in short, what the video does, it shows you in an animation form why I'm oppressed and why people like Brian are oppressors. Mm-hmm. In short, that's what it is.
Of course, we already know that.
There's going to be a lot of stops here. So I think it's 13, 14 stops.
I don't know. They'll be quick.
Yeah, we'll make it fast. It's such a silly video, but we had to share it with you because that's what we do.
All right, here we go.
The Olympics here. We got the race going on.
There you go.
So right off the bat here, we have a relay race between whites and blacks. And as you can see by the animation here, since 1492...
I don't think it's a relay race. I think we're all individuals starting it.
Yeah, okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all individuals. Yeah.
But
since 1492...
Yeah, I'm not going to start because in what race do we have men and women racing against each other?
Well, it's transgender.
All right, I'll stop.
It's a transgender race, but that's a different topic.
Shut up. All right.
It's a different topic. But as you can see right there, since 1492... whites have had a head start in life, an unfair head start. Now, why in the heck we were sitting at the starting gate and we didn't take off? We'll get into that now.
I was always told, though, that the earliest humans were found in Africa.
Yeah.
In biology, that's what I was told. That's what
Yeah.
I think Lucy. So you would think that Africans have a head start.
You would think so.
I'm just saying.
You would think so. Time keeps on ticking. We're still at the starting gate because of slavery, broken treaties, genocide, manifest destiny, trail of fears, Dred Scott segregation. There's so many things holding us back. As you can see on the back of the track, white people are still up. Now we've been lapped. We're still at the starting gate. And they had such a long time that they're now getting older and passing the baton to the next generation. Blacks are still at the starting gate.
Only the white guy, not the girl, just the guy.
Right. So as you can see here in this illustration, blacks are stuck at the starting gate. And because whites had such a huge head start, they had a chance, the opportunity to pass down their wealth from generation to generation to generation, which further created the gap between blacks and whites.
Can I speak on this one?
Yes, you can.
Again, this is the misconception, but it's put out there as fact. My mother's side of the family came from Poland. They didn't get anything handed down as far as wealth. In fact, they were Jews in Poland, and they came in. Luckily, they came in the late 1800s, because we know what happened to the Jews in Poland that didn't get out by the early 1900s, like 1930s, 1940s. We know what happened to them. Most of them were wiped off of the planet. My dad's side, they were English, Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
They were poor Kentuckians. They did not get this. So this whole blanket statement.
And you didn't get flipped a blank check
Yeah.
and said, here you go?
My dad was the first one to actually go to college in our family. And he put himself through college because they didn't have the money.
Right.
So again, this is where I can speak. I'm just speaking for white guys.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to speak for you because know thyself X wouldn't want that.
Right.
But as a white guy with Polish and Kentucky background, we did not get a baton of money passed generation after generation.
Okay.
All right? I think Obama might have got a little bit of money.
Right. You would think carrying all that around would slow you down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we finally got out of the starting gate back in 1909, but the video suggests that the head start was too far to overcome by that point. Now I'm thinking the 1920s, so whites got a big head start. If I remember my history correctly, 1929 put a damper on everybody with the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. So you would think that everybody, blacks, whites, over here, had to start from square one and say, you know what, I gotta pull myself up by the bootstraps, which you really can't do because it's physically impossible, but and start all over again.
And to be fair, there were some people that did fine during the Depression, but those were what you call now the 1%ers. That's not the average white, black, Asian, whatever. Those were the Rockefellers and these people that just came from so much money. Again, that's 99%, over 99% don't get that. It's regardless of color. So this blanket statement, again, that's all I'm gonna say, doesn't fit me, my history.
Okay, discrimination. Okay, now discrimination didn't happen to black people. Now, if I understand correctly, ladies, help me out. I thought ladies, regardless of color, were discriminated against greatly too.
Yeah,
back in that time.
they couldn't vote.
They couldn't vote.
Do any of that stuff.
Yeah. But according to this animated short, it only affected black people, and that really hampered our run in this great race.
And even not all men even got to vote at
Right.
certain points. It went through a progression.
Right.
And it took longer, obviously, for minorities, whether it be women or people of color.
Yeah, and I read somewhere discrimination comes in all different forms, shapes, and sizes. And speaking of sizes, the vast majority of CEOs in this country are like over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So there's a short discrimination as well. If you're short, you can be discriminated against.
Absolutely. Got to start that.
Ooh, oh. Oh my goodness. Poor schooling. Oh my goodness. Okay. poor schooling is everyone falls victim to that. No matter where you grew up, where you find, if you're in a government indoctrination center, chances are you're going to be subjected to some poor schooling. And it's up to you, like it was up to the Ben Carsons and the Larry Elders and people like that, to make the most of your schooling. George Washington Carver, the peanut guy, talk about being homeschooled. He was homeschooled and made big strides and made some great advancements in our country. Larry Elder, who we are pushing for governor of California, his alma mater, Crenshaw High School, which is located in Los Angeles, California.
Crips, right?
Yeah, Crenshaw. Good. Well,
I remembered that.
Well done. Crenshaw Mafia. Only 3% of the students from Crenshaw High School are proficient at math, and that's why he's making a big push. I know Brian talks about this a lot. This is one of his big hot buttons: is that your education shouldn't be stifled because of your zip code and where you live. That's why vouchers should be put in place, that if you're educated enough, you should be able to go to the school of your choice where you should be challenged. Larry also goes on to say that he's going to clean out the LA Unified School District because 15,000 teachers are just collecting a paycheck. And that is some people say it's a benefit, but I think that's the curse of having what they call tenure. After you've been at a school for 2 years, whenever, it takes an act of God to get you removed, no matter how poorly you're performing or how poorly you act.
And who pushes for vouchers for the most part? Republicans. Who pushes back? Democrats. Why do Democrats push back? Because they're controlled by the teachers' unions.
Yep.
Just follow the money.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Underemployment. Okay, what this is suggesting is that blacks specifically are underemployed, but leave it in the comment section, how many of you, your employment has been affected by something that you couldn't control, whether it was COVID in 2020, some shift in the wind in the economical economy that you just couldn't get a job. But it's not only blacks who are being underpaid and underhired for their skills. That happens to all people, white, black, Hispanic. It affects everyone.
Well, this makes sense 50 years ago. You could absolutely say that. But there are so many there's a lot of millionaires, and I'm not just talking about athletes. There's a lot of African American millionaires. So there's plenty of jobs to be had. But what are we seeing right now? What does COVID magnify? It's magnifying this, that if you are depending on the government for money, then why work?
Right.
And it's happening black, white, doesn't matter.
Right.
So what happened in the 60s, as Cedric has brought up before, is that they were handing out checks as part of the, not affirmative action, but as part of the civil rights action. Right? And
right.
Cedric says this many times, is the civil rights movement, in a lot of aspects, actually hurt the black family.
And welfare.
Yeah. So COVID's kind of putting a magnifying glass on all of this that shows that this isn't racial. This is economic. It has to do with where you are on the economic ladder.
I can't go out without seeing signs posted in front of business saying, like, if you're looking for work, come see us.
People won't work.
And then, like Brian says, I think our natural tendency is to be taken care of. And that's sad to say that we're used to be such industrious, hardworking people, but now we just want to be taken care of by the government.
Yeah. Yes, look at her leaving.
Right? Okay, standardized tests. Look at the word standard. There should be a test that is standard for everyone to pass, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, or Asian. And it's racist to me to insinuate that blacks can't pass a standardized test. It's saying that, okay, we need help. We need different tests for us because we have different experiences. And I've talked about that many times. It's like people said to me in the comment section a long time, it's like, well, where did you grow up? Because you can't be black. Don't try and adjust the color on your video screen. I am black. But my black experience is way different than Barack Obama's black experience, and it's way different than Barack Obama's children's experience. I didn't have the same experience, but that's the thing. They try to make us this monolith and group us into this one group. Everyone has their own individual experience. Affirmative action, diversity scholarships. About a couple months ago, we read something from the University of Washington saying that they're going to take the grammar department and introduce Ebonics as a way of writing papers and like that little black kids could turn it in with Ebonics because that's the way we speak.
Yeah, we already know math's racist.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh, what's that? Animation is terrible.
Right? the school to prison pipeline. Here's how we solve that. You listening? Stop committing crimes. If you don't commit crime, well, Cedric, it's not that easy. It's not that hard. I was just talking to a friend of mine on the phone before we started filming, and she got a little slap on the hand because they were late for work. And I said, I'm gonna share something with you. Stop being late. You control so much of what you do. Yeah, you guys have no clue, but it's like they say, like, well, this only happens to black people. You make poor decisions regardless of your race or your culture, you end up in prison.
When do you see people stealing food anyway? What are they stealing during all these riots? They're stealing shoes, TVs.
Yeah.
So it's not because they're too poor to eat. Our government gives out plenty of stuff. Obesity is a huge problem among the people in the lowest economic, not the highest.
Yeah. And what's irritating about this video right now is that me and Brian talked about the riots of the summer and how they said that they don't compare that to what happened in January 6th and how that was worse. Me and Brian are saying both are wrong. What happened January 6th was wrong. What happened during the summer of 2020 was wrong. It comes down to personal responsibility. And this video and CRT says nothing about personal responsibility.
You just have to separate by color.
Oh, it's her fault. She shouldn't stop running.
Housing segregation.
Okay.
Hit it.
Now, me growing up, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I lived in middle-class America my entire life. We were basically a 3-income family. My dad, because he busted his butt, worked 2 jobs. My mom worked a job, and we lived in middle-class America. That was a choice that my parents made. My dad told me this all the time. When I was a young kid, I was playing out in front of the apartment. I was like 2 or 3 years old, and the manager or owner said that I couldn't play in it, and that would motivate my dad to say, you know what, doggone it, I'll go buy my son a house. So he has his own backyard to play in, and that's what motivated him to go get a house. And he had to work 2 jobs to do that, but he could have made a choice. He could have worked 1 job, and we could have stayed in the apartments, but he said, you know what, I'm gonna work 2. Redlining doesn't exist anymore, people. Redlining was back in the, was it 50s or 60s, where they would block off certain areas of a city and say, don't sell to blacks in this area, and make sure you drive them to other areas.
That's illegal.
It's illegal. It doesn't happen anymore. But here's the thing, if you go out and you work, and whether you go to school and get an education, or you become a self-employed person, you can produce if you produce a middle American income, you too can have a middle American lifestyle, and you can go even further than that, depending on how much work you want to put into it.
And you can move. So people, this big thing, because we live in California, one of the most expensive areas to live in. His family, his dad came from, was it Mississippi?
Mississippi.
Because of what was going on there, he made a decision to move somewhere else, to get away from the segregation and the bigotry of that area. Did he find it here? Yeah, it was still here in California, but to a much less extent. If you can't afford to buy a house where you live, then move, find an opportunity. And that, again, CRT breaks everything down in the race. My grandparents on my mom's side that came from the Polish side, they worked 2 jobs constantly. My mother never had parents to come home to after school. She was what they called a latchkey kid.
Right.
That's not a black thing. That's a person thing.
It's a hard-working person thing.
Yeah, it depends where you are. Are there some people that get things handed down to them? Absolutely, especially if you live in places like California and New York. You'll see that. Again, those are your 1%ers.
Right.
We're not the 1%ers.
And that house you saw there, that was more indicative of LeBron James or Oprah Winfrey.
Exactly.
I never lived in a house like that.
But what the problem is, we put it out there that everybody should have that.
Right.
Which is ridiculous,
Yeah.
regardless of color. That's Shakira.
This is appropriate because it's saying that racial drug testing is for blacks only, and this really piggybacks on the Olympics with Sha'Carri Richardson. What was she running in, or was she competing in?
She was the 100.
The 100 meter.
She
took
probably
a
would've
drug
won.
test. Yeah, she probably would have won, but she took a drug test, and it wasn't aimed at black people. It was something. It wasn't even.
It's called random.
It's random. It was from the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, and said you cannot do drugs while you're an Olympic athlete.
She did. On our list.
She got caught.
Yeah.
I mean, it's applicable to everyone. Like I said, whether you're black or you're white or Hispanic, rich, poor, it applies to everyone except Hunter Biden. He's the only one it doesn't apply to. If you do drugs and you carry that last name, you can pretty much get away. And that's not really white privilege. It's money privilege and over abuse of power privilege.
You know, it's funny too. If you guys remember, since we're in the Olympic time, Michael Phelps, who was probably arguably the best swimmer of all times, he got suspended and he didn't even test positive.
Right.
It was just a social media thing. Saw him with a bong. So and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's white.
He is white. He's white. He's a swimmer, so he has to be.
That's not true. Uh-oh, dead end.
Shortened lifespan. I've shared this story before.
Wait a minute.
What?
CRT is all about, white guy bad. What do I have to do with shortened lifespan for people of a different race?
Nothing, because we kill each other at a greater clip than other people do. And I shared this story before. For those who don't know, about 20 some years ago, my dad turned 60 years old. So some of you are probably thinking, big deal. It was a big deal in our family because he was the first man in the family to hit 60.
Wow.
And he will tell you it's because growing up in Mississippi, it was fried this, fried that. I'll call it moonshine. Lack of activity, lack of exercise. But he made a decision, much like Brian said, he made a decision to move and do something different. He made a decision in his early 50s in his mid 50s, he had a heart attack, a mild one. And he said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
I want to be around to see my grandkids, great grandkids, if that's possible. Changed his diet, started exercising, lost weight, and I'm proud to say he's here to this day. But the three things that blacks have to worry about is violence. We take each other out at a greater clip, and no one likes to hear that. They always want to focus on that little tiny microscopic episode of white people or white cops killing blacks. And that's not the problem. It's black on black crime. Hello, Chicago. Hello, New York. Hello, Philadelphia. All the major cities. And like I just touched on, diet. I grew up with the Southern parents. I ate fried chicken. I ate the Southern food. But that wasn't black food. It was Southern food.
Yeah, bad food.
It was cultural.
You go down to Mississippi, white or black, that's, I think, the highest obesity rates are in Mississippi.
Yeah, add salt to everything, and I never, and we joke about this a lot, me and my family. Things weren't served on plates; they were served on platters, and just the portions were out of control. And last about exercise, we control those things. We can extend our lifespan. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that's applicable to white people as well.
I believe it is.
All right.
That's why when I saw this one come up, shortened lifespan, it's like, what does that have to do with anything? And how can...
Well, the mere fact that you're asking that question makes you racist.
I know. It's got to be something that I did, my ancestors did, from Poland. What's this they're building? Connections, huh?
Connections. Again, like I said, my dad moving out here from Mississippi, anybody can connect. If you get out of your basement and stop trolling people like me and Brian, if you get outside and you interact with people and don't stay contained to your circle of influence and get out and expand that, you too can have connections.
Yeah, you used to introduce me to books out there on how to better your life, make more money, how to win friends and influence people, all that stuff.
Great book.
That's all about making connections. What does that have to do with color?
Right.
And like I said earlier, there's plenty of millionaires that are black. You reach out to and you model yourself to that. I mean, that's what you try to do. If you want to make more money, you find somebody, a mentor. Mentor programs are fantastic. It doesn't matter their color. So to call this a black-white thing is just silly.
And if you believe in it, I mean, if it's a thing of karma, that will come back on you. Speaking of karma, U.S. women's soccer team.
Karma's a bitch. That must be me. I don't have that hair anymore. And I don't have wealth.
Oh my goodness. White privilege, wealth. And what this animated short is showing is that black people, white men specifically, just show up. All you gotta do is be born white, get on the people mover, and you can cruise through life. Yeah. Now, most of you have common sense are watching this and like, that's not true. You know, you've known white people who are down and out in their luck, and you've known white people who have achieved success. The same can be said for black people. You know blacks who are down and out on their luck, and you've known blacks who have achieved tremendous success. It's because like Brian was just saying, they've made connections. They've worked hard. They've endured. They've persevered. anyone can do that if they make the decision to do that.
They're not allowed to play the victim.
Right.
The problem is when you give carte blanche to play the victim, is that the right term?
Yeah.
Carte blanche, whatever. Yeah. Then you create victims.
Right.
And you've said that, and Larry Elder says that all the time. He calls it victocrats.
Victocrats.
So CRT is creating more victims saying, yeah, don't feel bad. It's not your fault. It's my fault being a white guy. So you just play the victim. How do you get out of then? How do you connect? How do you make networks if you're just going to play the victim and woe is me? It's not going to happen.
Right. We've mentioned before what undergirds CRT is that look for racism. So when you wake up in the morning and instead of having a positive attitude and say, hey, I'm going to go say hi to someone. Don't know who it is. I'm going to say hi to a stranger, introduce myself. But when you wake up with an attitude of like, okay, white man bad, you've really limited your pool because black people only comprise 13% of the population. One of my former students was telling me this last week. He's working at our local Target. And he said he loves that. I said, why do you love it? He goes, I meet people every day. I meet business people and I talk to them, I say hi. He goes, you have no idea how many business cards I've collected. He doesn't want to make Target his life thing, but it's like, it's cool for him right now because he's networking.
Right. Well, the thing that's scary about this is a teaching video. We didn't bring this up because we found this obscure thing.
Right.
This is what they use to teach, and if you see the feedback on this actual video, and I'll put the link to the site, you'll see all the positive feedback, usually from white liberals, that don't realize they're creating victims. And they're teaching this, look at this guy right here, he's supposed to be, since he's white, he was carrying the money and all this. And I just gave you my story. Poor people immigrated here from Poland with nothing. And on my dad's side, immigrated here from England or Germany, I don't even know how far back it goes, with nothing. That's 99% of people anyway. Mm-hmm. Only 1% are the ones can carry on and pass down that money. So they're teaching kids, white and black and Asian and Hispanic, and I'd be pissed off if I was another racial group because they don't even show up on here. Right, either white or black, right? And they're teaching that, white guy doesn't have to do anything. That's funny because I went to a lot of school.
Right.
And I didn't go to an Ivy League. I went to a state school and managed to do it.
Hey, Brian and I, we did a video several months ago put that in the link on J.D. Vance. I forget the show that he was on.
Hillbilly Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy. But I think he's running for office in Iowa or Idaho. And he's getting a lot of pushback right now because he had the audacity to make the statement that he's getting tired of putting people in power who have no vested interest because they don't have young kids growing up. Right. Your AOCs, your Pelosi's, they're passing all these mass mandates and things like that. It's like, you have no skin in the game. You don't have kids. He got so much pushback for that.
That's true. I mean, AOC's just out there to, save the planet because the planet's going to be gone in 12 years. Right. And then in 12 years, there'll be another 12 years.
They were saying that in the 50s and 60s.
I know. Well, who's Gore? Al Gore, the guru who started all this nonsense. That was how many years ago now? And the planet was going to end? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, his mug says Yale. I didn't notice that.
How many people get to go to Yale?
I didn't get this part.
He's going to remove the barrier here. And that is right here. Affirmative action.
Ah, okay, yes.
So he's removing the barrier. Yes. It's not that he's giving an unfair advantage. Right. He's just removing the barrier.
I see no problem with that.
But is that what it does?
No. Because people are saying that, affirmative action levels the playing field. Whereas all this stuff in the other video gave whites an unfair advantage. Affirmative action, diversity scholarships, things of that nature, it simply levels the playing field.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if you know this, but growing up over the years, and I'm sure you've met them too, I have actually met some people that are racist, that have said racist things.
Right.
Guess what? If they're white, they're usually not just racist against blacks. They say crap about Asians, about Hispanics, especially in our area. Yet Asians actually have a harder time getting into schools because of affirmative action.
Right.
So if it's because of bigotry, right? If it's because of bigotry, then Asians should also be helped.
Right.
The barrier should be taken down.
Yeah. Yeah,
But that's not how it works.
And that's what Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement was all about. Yeah, first and foremost, it was about voting equality, but it was about leveling the playing field, not giving one group a distinct advantage over another group, but let us all start from the same spot, give us the equal chance to work hard, to persevere, and that's what America is all about. Give me a chance to reach incredible goals and achieve things for my family, but at the same time, give me the opportunity to fall flat on my face, and either way, it's on me.
So it's, do you want to play the victim, or do you want to just work extra hard to remove those barriers for yourself?
Exactly. Well, like I said,
again, I wasn't supposed to talk because I'm the white guy.
No, you can.
Of privilege, but
no.
Like I want to explain to that person who made that comment, my family did not come from that. My dad was the first person. My grandparents didn't even graduate high school. My dad was the first person to graduate high school, and then went to the military, Army, came back, put himself through college, city colleges. That's how you do it, right?
Yeah, a good man. I know, I've known the man personally for 20 years. Good guy, always been kind. Matter of fact, he treats me better than he treats Brian sometimes.
Especially my mother-in-law.
Right. He's a good dude. But we want to share this video with you. Like I said earlier before the video started, for those of you who are old enough, you remember the old classic Schoolhouse Rock videos where the animated shorts were designed to inspire, to encourage, and to educate. This video does not do that. It's educating from a very microscopic lens and through one colored lens.
Yeah.
And even I remember the Schoolhouse Rock videos, they were so uplifting, the music and the cadence. This is just depressing. The somber attitude of it doesn't do any good. But we wanted to share that with you, and it's probably the video that's going to be rolled in and shown to your kids during school. So be mindful of that. I want to share with you guys real quick. We've been promoting it for a long time, but just this week, Brian and I officially went over the 10,000 subscriber mark. Want to thank you guys for that really quick, whether you listen or watch us in the morning, afternoon, evening. Like I said before, we were just two regular guys. Brian called me up one day and said, "Hey, come over." I said, "What are we doing?" He goes, "Don't worry about it, just come over." He turned the camera on. A little less under 18 months later, here we are at 10,000 subscribers, and we're not stopping there. So we need you guys to continue sharing our videos.
And in case we do get taken down, I am starting to upload to Rumble.
Yeah, that's a real threat.
And please support us.
Yes.
The hats are nice. They're very well-made hats.
Yeah.
It's not the cheap stuff that you get on some of these online things. I actually have a guy who makes it for all the sports teams out here, and he makes the hats. So you can support us if you like us, you want to support us. Grab a hat. Grab one of those.
I got the camo here.
Yeah, grab a camo hat. So you can get different styles. So that has one logo. So we have the new logo. We're gonna put some with our face.
You got the blue one there.
Yeah.
Well, someone said they like the half face that we do at the end of our.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna put the face that's right here, and then you can just the one that says Cedric and Brian on it, which is back there behind Cedric.
Yes.
So, anyways. I know this turned out a little longer than we wanted,
yes.
And I probably spoke more than I said I would, but I can't shut up.
No,
that's my thing.
Ain't that the truth? Real quick, Brian put the link up there. My Patriot Supply. I went to our local Costco last week. All the water was gone. For those of you who remember last year, March 2020, when all the toilet paper was gone, all the water was gone. If you're concerned, this is a very inexpensive, frugal way to load up on something that's going to last you for the next 25 years. If you get through that, go camping with it.
Get your food now, because you look around the world, Australia, some of these countries, they're locking down. They don't even want you to leave your house to talk to a neighbor. That's coming to a neighborhood near you.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Not just in the U.S., around the world. Buy this from us.
Yes.
www.preparewithcedricandbrian.com. You get 25% off My Patriot Supply. That's a month's worth of food that will last you through the hard times. And it lasts for 25 years.
Yep, absolutely.
All
right, let's wrap this up.
All right.
Okay. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like. Make sure you subscribe. Ring that bell and share our videos with everyone you know. Until next time, I'm Cedric.
And I'm Brian. See you later.